Human beings are inherently social creatures. From the earliest days of our existence, survival depended not on individual strength, but on cooperation, on our ability to form relationships, to depend on others, and to be depended upon. A person cut off from these fundamental bonds becomes vulnerable, not just in practical terms, but psychologically, emotionally, and even physically. This is why isolation breeds weakness. When a person, particularly a woman, finds herself with no friends, the effects are far-reaching. She may not feel it immediately. Solitude can at first feel like a relief, a break from the demands of social life. But over time, the absence of meaningful human connection erodes her sense of self, her confidence, and her ability to function effectively in the world. Without the presence of others to reflect her identity back to her, she risks losing clarity about who she is. People shape themselves through interaction. Friendships provide feedback, support, and a sense of belonging. When that is missing, a woman can drift into a state of uncertainty about her own worth. The dangers of isolation go beyond simple loneliness. Emotional resilience is built through relationships. When people face difficulties in life, it is often their social circle that provides the strength to endure. A woman without friends has no one to remind her of her capabilities when she doubts herself, no one to counterbalance her negative thoughts, and no one to help her regain perspective when she becomes overwhelmed. Left alone with her own fears and insecurities, these thoughts can grow unchecked, feeding into cycles of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. In addition to its effects on mental health, isolation weakens a person's ability to navigate the complexities of the social world. Communication is a skill, and like any skill, it deteriorates when not practiced. Without the regular challenge of interacting with others, a woman may become hesitant, awkward, or overly self-conscious. Social anxiety can develop where none existed before, simply because the muscles of conversation and engagement have atrophied. This, in turn, creates a vicious cycle. The more isolated she is, the harder it becomes to reconnect with others, and the more intimidating social interaction feels. Beyond personal development, there is also a very practical dimension to the dangers of isolation. Friendships provide not just emotional support, but also tangible benefits, opportunities, advice, and protection. A woman without friends is more susceptible to exploitation, manipulation, and abuse. She lacks the external voices that would normally offer warnings, guidance, and alternative perspectives. In difficult situations, friends act as a sounding board, helping to distinguish between good and bad choices. Without that, she must rely solely on her own judgment, which can be clouded by limited experience, strong emotions, or simply a lack of information. Moreover, success in life, whether in career, relationships, or personal growth, often depends on connections. Opportunities frequently arise through networks of acquaintances and friendships. People recommend those they know, they support those they trust, and they share resources with those they care about. A woman who is socially isolated cuts herself off from these advantages. No matter how skilled or intelligent she may be, she faces an uphill battle if she has no one to vouch for her, no one to introduce her to new opportunities, and no one to challenge her to reach higher than she would on her own. There is also the issue of emotional fulfillment. Life's joys are magnified when shared. Achievements, milestones, even small daily victories become richer in the presence of those who celebrate them with us. Likewise, struggles feel lighter when others help carry the burden. A woman with no friends experiences life in a muted way without the amplification that companionship brings. She may tell herself that she prefers it this way, that solitude is her choice, but often beneath that assertion is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of the effort required to build and maintain relationships. Ultimately, isolation is a form of self-imposed limitation. It stifles growth, weakens resolve, and makes an individual more fragile in the face of life's inevitable challenges. A woman with no friends may believe she is strong, independent, even self-sufficient. But true strength is not found in isolation, it is found in connection. It is found in the ability to form bonds, to give and receive support, to engage with the world rather than retreat from it. The strongest people are not those who stand alone, but those who stand with others, who recognize that resilience is built through relationships, and who understand that human beings were never meant to exist in solitude. Honest feedback is one of the most critical components of personal growth. It acts as a mirror. reflecting back to us the reality of our actions, words, and decisions. Without it, a person can easily fall into self-deception, stagnation, and even delusion. When a woman has no friends, she lacks the essential external perspective that allows her to refine herself. She moves through life without the necessary correction, guidance, or reality checks that come from those who care enough to tell her the truth. This absence of honest feedback weakens her ability to improve, adapt, and succeed in different aspects of her life. One of the fundamental roles of friendship is to provide constructive criticism. Friends are the ones who call out destructive behavior, challenge bad decisions, and push each other toward better choices. Without this, a woman is left to evaluate herself solely from her own perspective, which is naturally biased. Human beings have a tendency toward cognitive blind spots. We rationalize our behaviors, justify our weaknesses, and often fail to see where we are going wrong. Friends help to remove these blind spots by offering an outside perspective, one that is often more objective and balanced. Without honest feedback, a woman risks developing an inaccurate self-image. She may overestimate her strengths or underestimate her weaknesses. This distortion can lead to arrogance or insecurity, depending on whether she assumes she is better or worse than she actually is. When there is no one to say, "You could have handled that situation better," or "You are being too hard on yourself," she remains stuck in her own subjective interpretation of reality. Over time, this weakens her ability to assess herself properly, making it difficult to grow. Another critical issue is the lack of accountability. Friends serve as an informal accountability system, reminding each other of their goals, responsibilities, and commitments. If a woman has no friends, she has no one to hold her accountable when she begins to slack off, make excuses, or engage in harmful behaviors. She may set goals but fail to follow through simply because no one is there to check in on her progress. The absence of this external motivation makes it easier to procrastinate, to become complacent, or to avoid taking necessary but difficult steps forward. In professional and social settings, the inability to receive honest feedback can also lead to stagnation. Many people improve their careers, communication skills, and overall effectiveness through social learning, observing others, receiving constructive criticism, and making adjustments. If a woman does not have friends providing her with insights about how she presents herself, she may remain unaware of behaviors that could be holding her back. She might unknowingly come across as too passive, too aggressive, or socially awkward, yet without feedback, she has no way of realizing it. This can create difficulties in forming meaningful connections and seizing opportunities. Furthermore, honest feedback is not just about pointing out flaws, it is also about recognizing strengths. A woman without friends also lacks encouragement and validation. She may achieve something remarkable, but have no one to acknowledge it. Over time, this can lead to feelings of unworthiness or a diminished sense of accomplishment. When people are surrounded by supportive friends, they are reminded of their capabilities, their progress, and their value. Without this reinforcement, even significant achievements can feel hollow, as there is no external affirmation to make them feel meaningful. A lack of honest feedback also makes personal transformation more difficult. When people attempt to change their habits, beliefs, or lifestyle, they often rely on their social circle to help them stay committed. Friends provide motivation, reminders, and corrections when someone starts to drift back into old patterns. Without these influences, a woman attempting to improve herself must rely entirely on willpower, which is far less effective than a support system that keeps her accountable. Additionally, the absence of feedback increases the risk of self-sabotage. Many destructive behaviors, whether in relationships, career choices, or general life decisions, can be avoided if someone close is willing to say, "This is not good for you." Without those voices, a woman is more likely to repeat harmful patterns simply because there is no external force prompting her to question her actions. She may convince herself that a toxic relationship is worth staying in, that she is making the right financial choices when she is not, or that she is handling stress well when she is actually deteriorating. Friends act as safeguards against these pitfalls, providing necessary wake-up calls before bad situations spiral out of control. Perhaps one of the most damaging effects of lacking honest feedback is the potential for social disconnection. Over time, if a woman does not receive corrections or insights from others, she may develop behaviors or attitudes that push people away without realizing it. Friendships often dissolve when one person becomes difficult to deal with, whether due to arrogance, insensitivity, or negativity. Without friends to point out these tendencies in the early stages, she may unknowingly alienate those around her, deepening her isolation and making future connections even harder to establish. Ultimately, honest feedback is one of the most powerful tools for self-improvement. It is the force that challenges us, refines us, and keeps us on the right path. Without it, a woman risks stagnation, misjudgment, and disconnection from the world around her. While solitude can sometimes be necessary for reflection, long-term isolation deprives a person of the external insights that are essential for true growth. Life is not meant to be navigated alone, and without the guidance, accountability, and support of honest friends, the journey becomes significantly harder. Social skills are like muscles. They require regular use to remain strong and effective. When a person, particularly a woman, lacks friendships and meaningful social interactions, these skills begin to deteriorate. At first, the decline may not be noticeable, but over time, the ability to connect, communicate, and navigate social situations weakens. This deterioration can lead to increased social anxiety, awkwardness, and difficulty forming new relationships, creating a cycle of isolation that becomes harder to break as time passes. One of the most fundamental aspects of social interaction is conversation. Engaging in dialogue requires a balance between listening, responding, and interpreting verbal and nonverbal cues. A woman who does not regularly engage in conversations with friends or acquaintances may find that her ability to hold a discussion weakens. She may struggle to find the right words, misinterpret the tone or intent of others, or become overly self-conscious about how she is perceived. Over time, this makes social interactions feel more intimidating, leading her to avoid them altogether, which only worsens the problem. Nonverbal communication is another critical element of social interaction that deteriorates without practice. Body language, facial expressions, and eye contact play a significant role in how people connect. A woman who lacks regular interaction may unknowingly develop habits that make her seem disengaged, uninterested, or even unapproachable. Without feedback from friends, she may not realize that her posture appears closed off, her facial expressions seem indifferent, or her tone of voice does not convey warmth. These subtle aspects of communication often determine how others respond to her, and when they are lacking, it becomes more difficult to establish meaningful connections. The ability to read social cues also declines with isolation. Friendships and social experiences teach people how to interpret the emotions and intentions of others. When a woman does not interact regularly, she may misread situations, failing to notice when someone is uncomfortable, interested, or bored. This can lead to misunderstandings, awkward exchanges, and a sense of frustration in social settings. The longer she remains isolated, the harder it becomes to regain this skill, making social interactions feel unpredictable and overwhelming. Confidence in social situations is built through repeated exposure. When someone regularly engages with others, they become more comfortable expressing themselves, sharing their thoughts, and handling different types of conversations. A woman without friends misses out on these experiences, which can cause her confidence to erode over time. She may begin to doubt her ability to contribute to discussions, assume that others are uninterested in what she has to say, or develop a fear of judgment. This self-doubt can make her withdraw even further, reinforcing the belief that she is socially incapable. One of the most damaging effects of deteriorating social skills is increased social anxiety. The longer a woman remains isolated, the more unfamiliar social interactions become, leading to heightened nervousness when she does engage with others. She may overanalyze her words, worry excessively about how she is perceived, or feel overwhelmed in group settings. This anxiety can be paralyzing, making her avoid social situations altogether. Unfortunately, avoiding social interaction only strengthens the fear, making it even more difficult to re-enter social circles when she eventually wants to. Beyond casual interactions, the deterioration of social skills also impacts professional and personal opportunities. Many aspects of success, whether in careers, networking, or relationships, depend on strong social abilities. Without the confidence to engage in conversations, express ideas, or build connections, a woman may find herself overlooked for opportunities. Job interviews, workplace collaborations, and professional networking all require the ability to communicate effectively. Without practice, she may struggle to advocate for herself, negotiate, or build rapport with colleagues. This can lead to stagnation in her career, limiting her ability to advance or seize new opportunities. In personal relationships, weakened social skills can create barriers to forming meaningful connections. When a woman lacks friendships, she may lose touch with the natural flow of social dynamics. Meeting new people can feel intimidating, and she may hesitate to initiate conversations or deepen relationships due to a lack of confidence in her abilities. Romantic relationships can also suffer, as social skills are crucial for building trust, understanding, and emotional connection. Without experience in navigating friendships, she may struggle to maintain a healthy dynamic in romantic or familial relationships, leading to further isolation. Another consequence of deteriorating social skills is the difficulty in handling conflict and disagreements. Healthy friendships teach people how to resolve conflicts, set boundaries, and communicate effectively during disagreements. Without these experiences, a woman may struggle to assert herself, become overly defensive, or avoid confrontation altogether. This can result in unbalanced relationships where she either allows others to take advantage of her or isolates herself further to avoid difficult conversation. Ultimately, social skills do not remain static. They either improve with use or weaken with neglect. A woman without friends may initially believe that she does not need social interaction, but over time the effects become undeniable. The difficulty in holding conversations, reading social cues, and engaging confidently with others can create a barrier that is increasingly difficult to overcome. The longer she remains isolated, the harder it becomes to reintegrate into social circles, leading to a deepening sense of loneliness and disconnection. Rebuilding social skills requires effort, but it is entirely possible. Seeking out small interactions, engaging in group activities, and gradually reintroducing social experiences can help restore confidence and ease the anxiety that comes with socializing. The key is recognizing that social skills, like any other ability, require practice. Isolation weakens them, but intentional effort can strengthen them again. While solitude may feel comfortable in the short term, long-term social disconnection leads to struggles that can affect every area of life. Maintaining and improving social skills is not just about making friends. It is about staying connected to the world, ensuring personal growth, and creating opportunities for a fulfilling and successful life. When a person, particularly a woman, lacks friends and meaningful social connections, she becomes more vulnerable to manipulation. Social isolation removes the protective barrier that friendships provide: honest feedback, perspective, and emotional support. Without these safeguards, she is left to navigate the complexities of human interactions on her own, making her more susceptible to being misled, controlled, or taken advantage of by those who do not have her best interests at heart. Manipulation often works by exploiting psychological vulnerabilities, such as the need for validation, belonging, or security. When a woman has no friends, these needs are often heightened. She may crave companionship or recognition, making her more willing to accept unhealthy relationships or toxic influences simply to avoid loneliness. Manipulators recognize and prey on these vulnerabilities, offering what seems like kindness, attention, or support, only to use these gestures as leverage to control her behavior. One of the most effective ways people resist manipulation is through external perspective, trusted friends who can see through deception and warn them of potential dangers. A woman without friends lacks this external viewpoint. She does not have someone to say, "This person is not treating you well," or "You deserve better than this." Without these reality checks, she must rely entirely on her own judgment, which can be clouded by emotional needs or lack of experience. Over time, this makes her an easy target for those who seek to exploit her trust. Additionally, people who are socially isolated often have lower self-esteem, making them more likely to accept mistreatment. If a woman has no friends reinforcing her worth, she may begin to doubt it herself. This self-doubt creates an environment where manipulation thrives. She may feel that she must earn love, approval, or attention, leading her to tolerate behaviors she would otherwise recognize as toxic. Manipulators use this insecurity to their advantage, making her feel guilty for questioning them, demanding too much, or considering leaving an unhealthy situation. Another way isolation increases susceptibility to manipulation is through a lack of exposure to different perspectives. Friendships introduce people to various viewpoints, helping them develop critical thinking and discernment. A woman without these influences may become overly reliant on the opinions of the few people she does interact with, making her more likely to accept misinformation or biased narratives. Manipulators often use isolation tactics to further this vulnerability, discouraging their targets from seeking alternative viewpoints or questioning their authority. Gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation where a person is made to doubt their own reality, is particularly effective against those who lack external validation. A woman without friends has no one to confirm her experiences or reassure her that she is not overreacting. If someone tells her she is imagining things, being too sensitive, or misunderstanding situations, she has no external support system to challenge these distortions. Over time, this erodes her confidence in her own perceptions, making her more dependent on the manipulator for guidance. Financial manipulation is another risk for socially isolated individuals. Friends often provide advice and warnings about financial decisions, whether it is about lending money, signing contracts, or avoiding scams. Without these insights, a woman may become more susceptible to financial exploitation. She may be convinced to make unwise investments, lend money to untrustworthy individuals, or become financially dependent on someone who seeks to control her. Manipulators exploit trust, and without outside opinions to offer caution, she may not realize she is being taken advantage of until it is too late. Furthermore, social isolation makes it harder to set and enforce personal boundaries. People learn boundary setting through social interactions by testing limits, asserting needs, and receiving feedback from others. A woman without friends may struggle to say no or recognize when her boundaries are being crossed. Manipulators take advantage of this, pushing limits gradually until she becomes accustomed to behaviors she would have initially resisted. Over time, this conditioning can lead to a complete loss of personal agency as she becomes more accustomed to putting the needs of others above her own. The longer a person remains isolated, the harder it becomes to recognize manipulation. When someone is immersed in an unhealthy dynamic without external perspectives, it begins to feel normal. A woman without friends may not even realize she is being controlled, as she has no standard for comparison. She may justify mistreatment, believing it is her fault or that she deserves it. In extreme cases, she may become entirely dependent on the manipulator, feeling that they are the only person who understands or cares about her. Growth is an essential part of life. People evolve through experiences, challenges, and personal achievements, but growth does not exist in isolation. It is witnessed, acknowledged, and reinforced by those around us. When a woman has no friends, she lacks the external validation and encouragement that helps solidify her progress. Without anyone to recognize her improvements, reflect her changes back to her, or celebrate her achievements, she may struggle to appreciate her own development, making her journey feel empty and unnoticed. One of the most fundamental aspects of human motivation is acknowledgement. When people accomplish something, whether it is a small personal victory or a significant life achievement, the recognition of others reinforces that success. A woman without friends does not have this reinforcement. She may work hard to improve herself, overcome personal struggles, or develop new skills, but if no one sees it, she may question whether it even matters. Over time, this lack of external acknowledgement can lead to a diminished sense of purpose and motivation. Additionally, personal growth often requires feedback and reflection. Friends serve as mirrors, showing us how we have changed over time. They remind us of how far we have come, helping us recognize progress that we might overlook. A woman without friends may struggle to see her own evolution because there is no one to say, "You've grown so much," or "Remember when you used to struggle with this?" Without this reflection, she may feel as if she is not improving at all, even when she is making significant strides. Another challenge is the lack of emotional support during difficult periods of transformation. Growth is rarely linear. It comes with setbacks, doubts, and struggles. Having friends provides a support system that encourages perseverance. When a woman has no friends, she faces these challenges alone. There is no one to reassure her when she feels stuck, no one to remind her why she started, and no one to help her push through moments of self-doubt. Without this support, she may be more likely to give up on personal growth endeavors simply because the process feels too overwhelming. Furthermore, growth often feels more meaningful when it is shared, whether it is learning a new skill, achieving a career milestone, or overcoming a personal challenge. The ability to share these moments with others makes them more fulfilling. A woman without friends may accomplish great things, but feel an emptiness because there is no one to celebrate with. She may wonder if her successes even matter, leading to a sense of isolation despite her progress. Another crucial aspect of personal development is perspective. Friends provide different viewpoints, helping a person see their growth from angles they might not have considered. A woman without friends may have difficulty recognizing the significance of her changes because she only has her own perception to rely on. She may downplay her achievements, fail to appreciate how much she has improved, or become overly critical of herself. Friends help balance this by offering encouragement, highlighting strengths, and pointing out growth that she might otherwise ignore. Social interactions also play a crucial role in the application of personal growth. Many self-improvements, such as better communication skills, emotional intelligence, or increased confidence, become most evident in relationships with others. If a woman has no friends, she has fewer opportunities to test and reinforce these improvements. For example, she may develop a better ability to set boundaries, but without friendships, she has limited opportunities to practice this skill. Over time, growth that is not reinforced through real-world interactions can feel theoretical rather than tangible. Additionally, the lack of witnesses to her growth can make a woman feel disconnected from her past. Friends serve as a link between different phases of life, helping to create a sense of continuity. They remember struggles that were once overwhelming, personal victories that once seemed impossible, and the journey that led to where she is today. Without friends, a woman may feel as though each stage of her life exists in isolation, with no one to connect the past to the present. This can lead to feelings of instability, as if personal growth is fleeting rather than part of a larger journey. Moreover, self-doubt thrives in isolation. When people do not have friends to affirm their progress, they may second-guess themselves. A woman without friends might wonder if she is truly growing or if she is simply convincing herself that she is. This uncertainty can be discouraging, making it difficult to stay committed to self-improvement. Encouraging words from friends, simple phrases like, "I'm proud of you," or "You're doing great," act as anchors that help solidify confidence in one's journey. Without them, it is easy to feel lost. Ultimately, personal growth is most rewarding when it is seen, acknowledged, and shared. A woman without friends may grow in many ways, but without witnesses to that growth, the experience can feel incomplete. Recognizing this challenge is the first step toward change. Seeking out meaningful connections, sharing progress with others, and allowing external perspectives to reinforce personal development can bring a greater sense of fulfillment. Growth does not need to be validated to be real, but having others recognize and appreciate it adds depth, meaning, and motivation to the journey. A woman without friends is not simply someone who happens to be alone. Her isolation often signals deeper underlying issues. Friendship is a fundamental part of human existence, providing emotional support, social validation, and personal growth. When someone lacks meaningful connections, it is rarely just a coincidence. It is often the result of deeper struggles such as unresolved trauma, low self-esteem, social anxiety, or trust issues. The absence of friendships is not the core problem, but rather a symptom of something more profound that needs attention. One of the most common reasons for prolonged isolation is past emotional wounds. A woman who has been betrayed, abandoned, or hurt in previous relationships, whether friendships, romantic connections, or even family dynamics, may develop a deep fear of being hurt again. This fear can manifest as reluctance to form new bonds, avoidance of social situations, or even self-sabotage when potential friendships arise. She may tell herself that she prefers being alone, but in reality she may be protecting herself from the possibility of pain. This avoidance, however, only deepens the problem. While isolation may feel like a safe choice, it ultimately reinforces loneliness and makes healing even more difficult. Low self-esteem is another significant factor that can prevent someone from forming friendships. A woman who does not believe she is worthy of love, companionship, or respect may unconsciously push people away. She may assume that others do not truly enjoy her presence, fear that she is a burden, or believe that she has nothing valuable to offer in a friendship. These negative self-perceptions create a barrier to social connection, making it difficult for her to open up or engage in meaningful interactions. Unfortunately, this lack of social engagement further reinforces her negative beliefs, creating a cycle where loneliness feeds into low self-worth and vice versa. Social anxiety can also be a major contributor to friendlessness. A woman who experiences intense nervousness or fear in social situations may find it exhausting or overwhelming to engage with others. She may worry excessively about saying the wrong thing, embarrassing herself, or being judged. These anxieties can lead her to avoid social gatherings, decline invitations, or withdraw from conversations. Over time, this avoidance becomes a habit, making it increasingly difficult to develop or maintain friendships. While social anxiety is often seen as just nervousness, it is in reality a deeply ingrained pattern of fear that can significantly limit a person's ability to connect with others. Trust issues, often stemming from past betrayals or unhealthy relationships, can also prevent a woman from forming friendships. If she has been deceived, manipulated, or let down by people she once trusted, she may develop a belief that others are inherently unreliable or disloyal. This skepticism makes it difficult to open up and establish meaningful bonds. She may keep her guard up, avoid deep conversations, or assume that people will eventually abandon her. While this defense mechanism is meant to protect her from further pain, it also prevents her from experiencing genuine connections and support. Another possible reason for lacking friendships is an inability to communicate effectively. Social skills, like any other ability, need to be developed and practiced. A woman who has difficulty expressing herself, reading social cues, or engaging in conversations may find it hard to connect with others. This struggle may stem from childhood experiences, neurodivergence, or simply a lack of exposure to healthy social interactions. When communication feels like an uphill battle, forming friendships can seem daunting, leading her to withdraw rather than risk awkwardness or rejection. Depression and other mental health struggles can also play a significant role in isolation. A woman dealing with persistent sadness, fatigue, or lack of motivation may not have the energy to maintain relationships. Depression often distorts perception, making socializing feel like an impossible task. She may feel unworthy of friendship, assume that others do not want to be around her, or lose interest in activities that once brought her joy. When mental health challenges go unaddressed, they can create an emotional barrier that makes building friendships feel out of reach. In some cases, a woman may lack friendships due to unhealthy behavioral patterns that push others away. If she is overly critical, controlling, negative, or emotionally unavailable, she may struggle to maintain close relationships. These behaviors are often not intentional, but are rooted in past experiences or coping mechanisms developed over time. Without self-awareness, it is easy to fall into patterns that make social connection difficult. Recognizing these behaviors and working toward change is crucial for developing healthier relationships. Another sign that deeper issues are at play is if a woman consistently finds herself in toxic or one-sided relationships. She may attract people who take advantage of her kindness, drain her emotionally, or fail to reciprocate support. If this pattern repeats itself, it may indicate unresolved emotional wounds or difficulty setting boundaries. True friendship is built on mutual care and respect, and if a woman continuously experiences unhealthy dynamics, it may be a reflection of deeper struggles that need to be addressed. Ultimately, the absence of friendships is rarely a surface-level issue. It is often a symptom of emotional wounds, fears, or internal struggles that have gone unaddressed. Recognizing these underlying factors is the first step toward change. Healing requires self-reflection, self-compassion, and, in many cases, professional support. By addressing the root causes of isolation, a woman can begin to break free from the patterns that keep her disconnected and take steps toward forming meaningful, fulfilling relationships. The journey toward friendship starts with healing the self, and once that foundation is built, genuine connections become possible.